Hola estudiantes, soy Maestra Chelsea and I am so excited to have you here today in our first ever vocabulary lesson. In today's lesson, Maestra Chiva and I are going to introduce you to los saludos en español. Los saludos are the short words and phrases that we use to say hello and goodbye and to generally greet one another in Latin America. However, before we jump into this lesson, I wanted to explain and give a brief breakdown of how this video is going to work. The next 12 to 13 minutes are going to be more background information where Maestra Chiva and I are discussing social and cultural norms around greeting one another and even talking about the ways in which COVID has affected how we say hello and how we say goodbye to people here in Latin America. We've also collected videos from our friends in different parts of Latin America so they can share with you the words, phrases, and gestures they use to say hello and goodbye to each other in their country. This allows you to hear different voices, accents, and to appreciate the rich diversity in Latin America. We will then move on to the instructional portion of this video, and finally we will wrap it up with a practice exercise so that you can put your new knowledge to the test. If you'd like, in the text below this video, you can see a complete minute-by-minute breakdown of this video. That way, if you'd like to skip ahead or at some point revisit a particular section of this video, it will be easier for you to do so. Muy bien, let's meet up with Maestra Chiva and get started. So the first time that I ever traveled alone to Latin America, I was 19 years old and I didn't speak very much Spanish and I honestly hadn't traveled that much and I really didn't know what to expect. But for sure, one of the first things that not necessarily caught me off guard, but one of the things I had to get used to was how much more physical contact and affection is displayed in Latin America, even when you don't know somebody very well. So it's very common here to greet somebody with a hug and a little kiss on the cheek. And so it depends. It varies in different parts of Latin America, but I recommend that before you travel somewhere, like maybe figuring out, well, what's the norm there? And just be prepared that things are different. The Latin American cultures in general tend to be a lot warmer. Like we said, it depends on the region.
I would say like you don't really like kiss someone on the cheek. It's more like
cheek to cheek contact. Yeah. And so like for a long time, I always wondered like, am I doing this right? Because like I'm not kissing them on the cheek. Yeah. It's like your cheeks are kissing and then you like kiss the air.
Yeah.
Right.
It is like that. You just like make the sound. And some people don't even do that. They just like put the cheek.
I think I just put my cheek on people's face a lot. But I do the hug and look at that. And so it's kind of interesting to get used to it.
Do you like it now?
I feel very used to it now.
Right? We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But
I'm used to it now, almost to the point where when I am in the United States, it feels weird to just like, yo, what up? It's a very different dynamic. And for a long time, I worked in the United States, but in a cultural center. And so we'd be in the U.S., but whenever a student came in, I would greet them like, hola, ¿qué tal, Tomás?
Like in a very Latin American way.
In a very Latin American way. And so a couple times people would be like, what is happening? Get out of my personal space.
Yeah. And I've been to Sacramento a few times already, and it still happens to me that my instinct is just like going to say hello to someone and like putting my face really close to them. And then there's this like little dance, like, how are we going to greet each other? Yeah.
Or even like sometimes I feel like when I'm here in Guatemala or if I'm in Mexico or wherever, where it's common to greet with the hug and the kiss, sometimes I think people look at me and they're like, I don't know if she's going to know because she's not from here. So then I'm like,
they don't expect you to
say. They don't expect me to want it or to know what to do. So then it's awkward. And so then I start it. So I probably think it's too much. Yeah. But the point is that social norms here are different in Latin America and it depends on the country that you're in. But for the most part, there's usually some kind of interaction that's more than just, hey, what's up? There's a little bit more physical contact, especially like it's really common for between a man and a woman or two women, whether they're friends or they're just meeting each other for the first time, to say something like, hola, ¿qué tal? O mucho gusto. And then the little cheek to cheek. Right?
That's a very important point because I feel like here at least you can greet someone like that in like a very physical way, even if you don't know the person. And you will do it if it's like a man and a woman or two women. But if it's two men, it's not
common.
It's not common. Yeah. That two men are going to kiss each other on the cheek. However, it is common, as far as I know, in other places in South America, like Argentina, Uruguay, or even Chile, if I'm correct. So I think that that's an important thing to consider because even if we call it like Latinoamerica, it's not like you're going to say hi the same way in every country, right? It's different. I mean, I'm assuming Cuba is also different. I've been there a few times, but she spends a lot of time there.
So I it's the same thing. Sometimes I don't know if it's because they don't think that I'm going to do it, but when I think about in Cuba, like when we run into people, like maybe the hug and the kiss on the cheek between a man and woman if they know each other. The men, it's definitely more of like a handshake or like a
like here,
the hug,
they have their special the
masculine hug. It's like affectionate but still distance, right?
Yeah.
So I think like in Cuba, I don't feel like they do the hug and the kiss as frequently.
I wonder if it's because it's so
here.
hot over there.
Honestly, that would make sense. Like everyone is just like sweating all the time. So it's like
I'm sticky, you're sticky. We don't have to like stick our cheeks together.
Yeah, exactly. I feel it's more like que vola, like more they greet each other more like with a vocal expression, kind of like, hey, what's up? Or actually something that's I always thought was so interesting in Cuba, and even between men when they're trying to get each other's attention, like from afar, they make a kissing sound. And I remember being like the
here.
Yeah, but
here
like
it's a
my husband would be working at the restaurant and like somebody would walk by and he would want to get their attention and he would be like, mwah, like I can't even do it right. But so that is interesting. And I feel like that's something that's super Cuban. So like we said, every region and every country has their own kind of way of doing things. But I do think that the kiss and the cheek to cheek kiss is pretty standard in Latin America. And Spain, I'm pretty sure it's two. It's the two cheeks. Yeah. So then you can end up in a situation where you accidentally kiss somebody on the mouth if you're not ready for that second one. So that's it depends.
That could be awful or great.
Or great, right? so
I wonder if that's why men kiss like on the cheek in Argentina, Uruguay, or Chile, because maybe it has more of a European influence over there.
Honestly, that could definitely be. I mean, we would have to look that up, but that wouldn't surprise me. I feel like South America, especially those countries that you mentioned, are so much more influenced by, if there's like whatever outside culture that influences them, I feel like it would be more of a European culture. Of course, they also have their own culture and identity. Whereas like here in Guatemala and Central America and Mexico, there's a lot more influence from U.S. culture. Yeah. And so it's a little, right? Yeah. But yeah, like in Guatemala, I feel like you guys are so much more affectionate, so much more cariñoso than we are in the United States.
We like to recognize another person's presence, even if you're just walking on the street. And you don't know them and you're not going to have a conversation with them. You're literally just going to pass by. We still like to give any form of recognition. We'll talk about that later, but we do use certain words to be like, hey, like just
I'm acknowledging the existence. Or if you're sitting in a restaurant and people are leaving, you usually will turn and say to them like, have a nice day. Even if you never spoke to them and you will never see them again in your life. It's just kind of like this idea that we recognize other human beings' existence.
And of course that happens less and less now in like the city or like bigger cities. It's more common in like small towns or in Antigua. It still happens, but of course I'm not saying everywhere in Guatemala.
Like if you're at a mall in Guatemala, you're not going to say buenos dias to everybody, right? But if you're walking down the street here in Antigua where we live or in a smaller town, it's very common to, as you're walking by, make eye contact. Buenos dias, something like some kind of acknowledgement.
Exactly. So. And of course, everything we're talking about right now is pre-COVID. Yeah. Obviously, after COVID, like things change. And it was very interesting to see, at least for me, that I had been used to like physical contact with people. I hadn't noticed how important it was in my life and how it affected me to not be able to like say hi to my mom or to my sister or my brother or my friends in that way. And it really like affected me emotionally and psychologically even. So it was interesting to see how much it's changed and how that has maybe changed our interaction with other people. We'll see. We're still in the middle of it. We don't know if we'll ever be able to like go back to what we were doing, or if we're going to just have to adapt to that now. Yeah. I know not everybody is against a little bit more distance and not being that physical. I know some people didn't enjoy it that much. Personally, I liked it, but I respect that there were many people that didn't like it. So I think
it just depends. I mean, for me, I've always felt I don't have an issue with the level of physical contact that there is in Guatemala or in most of Latin America, but it's definitely something that I do here. And like, I guess if I were to go home to Sacramento and were to see my friends, like we hug kind of like, hey, I got it. Like even my girlfriend. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a little bit more distant. So
interesting.
Yeah. I kind of, depending on where I'm at, I'm cool with either one, but I don't necessarily feel that I'm missing anything the way that you might feel because I grew up with a lot more like distance from people.
No. And as I said, I didn't really notice it until I didn't have it. I didn't know it was important for me even until I couldn't do it anymore. And then I was like, okay, this feels kind of weird. Like, why do I want to hug random people on the street? Like, it's because I haven't hugged anybody in
or
such a
now,
long time.
like, when somebody goes to greet you and, like, you know that person, and so even though COVID and that people are trying to be responsible and careful, but when you know people who you see often and they go to hug you and you're both wearing a mask, and it's kind of just like, what is this? Like, you just kissed my mask. That defeats the entire purpose of it. So it is very interesting to see how different cultures are responding and adapting to COVID, and it's going to be very interesting to see as things start to improve with the situation regarding COVID. Are those societal norms going to come rushing back, or are we going to have a permanent kind of keep your distance from people? So I hope not. I hope not. I think that Latin American culture is on something where I feel like the U.S. culture is too removed from expressing your excitement or your joy at seeing somebody. So I hope it comes back. I do.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
So guys, if you're curious about how people around Latin America say hi, well, we asked a few of our friends in Latino America, and we're about to show you right now. Yeah.
Hola, mi nombre es Cristina, soy de Ecuador y en este país se saluda diciendo buenos días, buenas tardes o buenas noches. Cuando es con una persona adulta se da la mano y si es entre jóvenes se saluda diciendo hola, ¿qué tal? Y chocamos las manos. Buenas tardes, ¿cómo estás? Hola, ¿qué tal?
Hola. Mi nombre es Eric William y soy de Cuba. Y en Cuba saludamos diciendo hacer que volá, que vuelta mi hermano, ¿cómo estás? Todo eso acompañado de un saludo de mano con un beso o un abrazo o un cruce de mano.
Hola, mi nombre es Javier, yo soy de Argentina y en mi país nos saludamos con un beso inclusive entre hombres, un beso en el cachete, lo cual es raro porque no he visto en ningún otro país que se saluden así, sobre todo entre hombres. Y cuando he viajado por distintos países y he querido saludar de esa manera, siempre los hombres se echan para atrás, con lo cual es un poquito gracioso.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Me llamo Daniel y soy de México. Soy mexicano. En México nos saludamos de mano o con un abrazo, diciendo hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué onda? Y con un beso en la mejilla entre hombres y mujeres, aunque últimamente el beso entre hombres en la mejilla es muy popular.
Hola, yo soy Brenda, soy del Salvador, de la ciudad de San Salvador. Somos un pueblo súper alegre, súper sociable, súper amigables. Y bueno, un saludo normal siempre empieza con ¿qué ondas? Siempre es ¿qué onda lo que decís? Si es tu amigo, ¿qué onda, bicho? Si es una amiga de cariño, ¿qué onditas? Si es por molestar, puedes decir qué pasiones. Entonces hay varias formas de hacerlo divertido. Nunca es un saludo formal, siempre es con algo de broma y risas, lo cual me encanta. Siempre mostramos la alegría de ver a la otra persona, y un saludo serio sería lo peor que podrías recibir en un día.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Gregory Sánchez, soy de Venezuela y en mi país saludamos. Hola, ¿qué tal mi pana? ¿Cómo estás?
Hola, me llamo Miosotis Cruz y soy de República Dominicana. En mi país típicamente saludamos diciendo hola, buenos días, buenas tardes o buenas noches, y dando un beso en la mejilla y la mano. Buenos días, buenas tardes o buenas noches.
Excelente, viajeros y viajeras. Wasn't that so much fun to be able to see different people around Latino America talk about how they say, or they used to say, hola? And as you can see, some people are a lot, or in some countries they're a lot more physical. Other people are like more expressive with their body. In other cultures, it's like a little bit more distant. So now that you have an idea of how we greet and what it means to us in Latino America, let's look at a few very useful phrases that you can use basically anywhere that you travel inside Latino America where they speak Spanish. And these phrases are going to be useful for you to say hola, to ask people how they're doing, to say thank you, just basic greetings, basic initial greetings, and also to give some more information about yourself if you want to introduce yourself. So you know the drill. We're going to see a set of clips. You're going to see those phrases. You're going to hear them, and I'm going to ask you to please repeat them repeat them, repeat them, repeat, because repetition is going to be key for you to remember these phrases. So let's take a look.
Before we move on to the video introduction of these phrases, we're going to quickly go over each vocabulary word and phrase. These same word and phrases can be found in your workbook and in the Quizlet exercise titled Los Saludos. For now, you can read the words here on the screen. I will go down the list and read each word slowly and pause for you to repeat after me. Buenos días. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. Buenas. Bienvenido. Bienvenida. Bienvenidos. Bienvenidas. Bienvenides. Hola. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué onda? ¿Cómo te va? ¿Qué hay? Mucho gusto. Me llamo. Mi nombre es. Tengo años. Soy de. Soy guatemalteco. Soy estadounidense. Adiós. Que te vaya bien. Que tengas buen día. Chao. Excelente, estudiantes. Now let's see these words in action.
Buenos días. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. Buenas. Bienvenido, bienvenida o bienvenide. Bienvenidos, bienvenidas o bienvenides. Hola. ¿Qué tal? Bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? ¿Qué onda? Mucho gusto. Yo me llamo. Mi nombre es. Soy guatemalteco. Soy estadounidense. Adiós. Que te vaya bien. Que tengas buen día. Chao.
Excelente, viajeros, viajeras, y viajeres. You've now been introduced to some important words and phrases in order to use the saludos in español. We're going to move on now to a practice exercise so you can put your new knowledge to the test. But if you're not quite ready to start practicing, that's okay. If you feel like you need some more review, we recommend going back and watching this video again, as well as checking out the sections in your workbook and on Quizlet regarding saludos en español. For those of you who are ready to get started, let's do it.
Buenos días.
Buenos días or buenas.
Yo me llamo Ana.
Yo me llamo Chelsea. O mi nombre es Chelsea.
Mucho gusto. Soy guatemalteco.
Mucho gusto. Soy estadounidense.
¿Qué tal?
Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué onda? O ¿cómo te va?
Adiós. Que tengas buen día.
Adiós, chao o que te vaya bien.
Excelente, chicos, chicas, y chiques. Thank you very much for looking at this video, for paying attention, for learning with us. Hopefully, we gave you a lot of useful saludos, so you'll be able to greet people on the street while you're walking through the beautiful landscapes and cities of Latin America. And finally, if you have any further questions, please send us an email at hola@theheartoftravel.org, and we'll reply as soon as possible answering your questions. Thank you so much. See you next time.